Hello, and welcome to Joe Macari Ferrari and Maserati dealership. Now don't get me wrong, that's not all they sell, but they do specialize in those cars. And the reason I'm here, as the title of this video would suggest, is that they have a rather tasty F12 TDF in this showroom. And right now, I'm sure if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll know that I've got a massive craving for one. Now at the minute, the prices are pretty crazy, but this is, at the risk of sounding obscene, the cheapest that I've seen so far. Reason being, it is a left-hand drive car in a right-hand drive market, but we'll discuss that shortly. Anyway, without further ado, let's hop inside and see what's what. Oh dear. There it is.
How's it going?
Guys, this is Dylan. I've known you now for the past few months at least. We've been crossing paths quite a lot. It's no secret on this channel that I have this sort of unrelenting desire for an F12 TDF, which is weird because I barely drive my own F12, like standard F12. I don't know, there's this trend with me at the minute that I seem to prefer the sort of hardcore variations of whatever car that might be. So I've recently gone back to a Speciale.
Of course.
I'm still the owner of a 675 LT, which is the sort of hardcore variant of a 650S. And I think for me, it's all about, as these guys know, the smiles per gallon factor. Completely. And from my experience over the years, it's always the hardcore variants that just set me alight, man.
Well, like, wasn't one of your first really cool cars a Scuderia?
It was.
There you go.
That didn't end too well.
No, I'm well aware.
Thanks for bringing that one up. But yeah, every car that I have the fondest memory of is always the sort of the more impractical, the more hardcore version. The problem with these is I haven't bought enough normal Ferraris to have ticked the acceptance box.
Of course, that Cavallino black boat.
Exactly. So I often get asked, why didn't you just buy one? I was like, well, quite frankly, I just didn't get the invite. No,
I mean, you have to have bought every single road car they've made for the last 10 years.
Literally everything. Yeah, and that is not an exaggeration. I mean, I know people who are quoting me stuff like, even to have got the invite, if you owned lots of cars but didn't have a current V12 in ownership at the current time of this being launched, you didn't qualify. So let's talk about this car.
Oh, it's so cool.
So 799 of these made worldwide. Hence the reason I am only able to afford a left-hand drive one. Which actually, this can be looked at in two ways, right? You don't have to tie up as much cash in the first place.
Completely, yeah.
So, you know, you're just looking at different tiers. You're only going to get into it at a more expensive bracket to therefore sell it at a more expensive bracket. Arguably, a left-hand drive, there's a larger market for it.
Do you know, you're speaking like a true car salesman.
Really?
Because honestly, like...
Or is this just man maths?
No, you do. It just makes sense. I mean, you know, we stock probably 80% left-hand drive cars.
Do you really?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much specialise in it. And what I will always say to anyone is, most people are like, oh, left-hand drive in the UK, it's a bit weird. You spend 5 minutes and you just get used to it.
It's true.
Not a problem.
It is
and
true.
as you said, it's cheaper and you have a bigger market to get out of it in, because someone's only going to pay a premium for a right-hand drive car if they're in a right-hand drive country. So that's like Australia, South Africa and the UK, and maybe there's one or two others, but it's nothing.
The other thing I worked out is I actually do almost as many miles in left-hand drive territory as I do in right-hand drive. I spend more time driving right-hand drive, but I do almost as many miles, because as soon as I go into Europe for a left-hand drive experience, I'm doing like 3,000 miles in 2 weeks, like straight away. If I do a few of those a year, if you actually look at the time spent, like the actual mileage spent abroad versus here, left-hand drive would be quite cool actually. Well, particularly for like approaching tolls and things.
Because the thing is, you know, when you go out and you're going to go on like a proper driving adventure, more often than not, you're going to be doing that in Europe. So you're going to want a left-hand drive car.
This is true. Now you're talking like a true salesman.
I'm not, by the way. I'm not a salesman.
So talk me through this car. The paint, I mistakenly thought it was Grigio Silverstone.
Well, I did too, until I read the sort of build sheet. What it is, it's Cani de Fuseli, which is a sort of historic colour. I'm not sure where it arises from, but what that translates to literally is shotgun.
Shotgun. So it's shotgun grey.
Shotgun grey.
I mean, how cool is that? Shotgun grey TDF.
It's the nicest colour.
That's so cool. And amazingly, this is, if you saw pictures of my first Speciale, this is almost, if it was Grigio Silverstone, which, let's face it, it's like a Pantone out.
Completely, yes.
The stripe, we've got a Nürburgring Argento.
Yeah, Argento Nürburgring, yeah.
Basically silver. And
Exactly.
imagine if I kept them and I was able to pair it with this, it would be the dream.
It would be so cool.
Anyway, so yeah, 799 cars made. These are the 6.3 litre V12. The reason I say that is because on the 812 Superfast, the car which has superseded the F12, they've upped that even further to a 6.5. Now I'm in a situation where I have the option to get an 812, but it might be sort of like a 2019 car. Now, what's funny about this? I've never driven a TDF.
We need to correct that.
So,
then.
I mean, while I'm like, I really want one, at the same time, I should probably drive one.
I think you absolutely should, but I think it's one of those things where every person, I mean, I haven't driven one of these yet.
Okay.
And everyone I know who has driven or owned one has just been absolutely blown away. We know people that have had a LAF and a TDF, and they've held on to the TDF and got rid of the LAF.
Right.
These things are just magic.
I have experienced a La Ferrari. Not doing any injustice to that car at all, because it forms part of the Holy Grail.
Completely.
But when you're going at slower speeds, it's almost like a 458. It's so usable.
It's so usable.
Yeah. Now, I can't confidently comment on this, but owners I know have had them, and people have experienced them. Even journalists have said, this thing is mental.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not on the ball, you probably better not get in it.
I mean, you will well know.
But that's
in
what
your
I'm
F12,
looking for.
those things try to kill you left, right, and centre, and this is just even
4. So in the wet, if it's raining, I don't even take the F12 out.
No.
There's literally no point. It's stupid. Wet mode, the calibration that they've done on these things is incredible. It's witchcraft. It is brilliant. But because it holds the car back so much, you're not experiencing anything of what you've actually paid for.
It basically, what it allows you to do is it allows you to drive the car rather than exactly. It makes it so that you'll keep it on the road rather than being able to enjoy it.
Rather than ending up through the hedge backwards.
Literally,
for sure. So how much is this car?
I think it's 750.
Christ.
100,000. Yeah, 750,000
pounds. And list, these were like 340.
That would have been a very high spec car.
I mean, this has
CarPlay, passenger display. Like it's got a signature color.
I love this limited edition, 1 of 799. That's
cool.
Right. And satin carbon, like that's lovely.
Doors, man.
Also, it has the stalk out of the LaFerrari and Speciale, which I really like. Gearbox. Now, again, haven't driven one of these, so that has to be the next video or one coming soon. I have to. If you're looking at that kind of money, you've got to experience every facet of it.
We've got a couple lying around, so I'm sure we could organise.
As you do. We've got a couple out back. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'm definitely going to get behind the wheel of an F12 TDF soon. The gearbox on the 812, out of everything that thing offers, the relationship between the drivetrain and the engine is... It's unbelievable. It literally gave me goosebumps.
How did you feel compared to PDK? Because PDK has always been the sort of yardstick for the most amazing automatic gearbox.
Yeah, categorically the best road shift gearbox I've ever experienced is in the GT3 and GT3 RS, the 991 gen. I mean, that is an audible tone change. If you didn't know that it had changed gear, you'd think it would just sound different.
Well, I took a 911 GTS out, and I was driving down the road, and then I was in seventh gear, and but I haven't felt it change.
It just goes.
It's like an electric car with an engine. It's so weird.
Madness. So, as you quite rightly said, I benchmark against that. 812, not far off. Not far off.
Really?
Now, to say not far off is much bigger achievement than you might think, because it's got way more torque, double the cylinders. I mean, it's 800 horsepower rear wheel drive, naturally aspirated V12 with a gearbox that every time I changed, I would have to I would go back up a gear again just to unnecessarily downchange again.
It's like you were saying,
that actually
playing
happen?
an instrument.
These are like playing instruments. Yeah. They're phenomenal. Not only by the way that the gear shift is actuated, the sound, dude.
Just the way they do, like sort of trumpets as you go down.
Out of this world.
So cool.
So special. The two negatives, I guess. Obviously, the price is obscene.
It's pretty crazy.
Also, there's no option these days to spec an F12.
What's
TDF.
your dream spec?
Either Rosso Fuoco.
Okay, I like that a lot.
Or a very metallic blue, like a triple layer, a pearlescent blue, like TDF blue.
Okay, I need
potentially a little bit lighter.
I'll show you a picture of this because we sold that exact.
No, you didn't. No. Right, let's check out the outside and then yeah, consider options.
There we go, man. Let's do it.
Right then, as overly excited as I was on the inside, I think it's the outside that actually sells it to me. This is why I have this sort of completely irrational desire for these things, because without driving one, you can't really categorically say yes. As you mentioned earlier, no matter what colour these things are in, just obscene.
I mean, the things I can count that when we put a picture of an F12 TDF on Instagram, it would be probably the most liked photo we've ever put up.
Seriously.
Every single time.
The desire for these things is madness. So
that livery itself is called Argento Nürburgring,
which basically means silver stripes and black stripe. Sculpture. Now, the aero work on this is next level crazy. Every time I look at these fins, I can't help but think shark face. Yeah, you know what I mean? It literally has gills. So much gills here. And interestingly, one of the features on the F12 was that it had those active aero flaps that opened on the brakes when they needed cooling. Ferrari at the minute think you're going to need that all the time, and they just opened it. So, pretty cool. Wheels. TDF, I believe, came with titanium bolts as standard. Titanium wheel bolts on Ferrari, they know what they're doing because if you have a standard wheel bolt, they're sort of rounded and polished chrome.
Right.
And I'm not going to go so far as saying they look cheap, but they look better.
Well, they sort of fit with the character of the actual rim itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think as an optional extra, it's embarrassing how much they are.
Oh, really?
It's just stupid. I mean, and they quote all this, it's much lighter. And all, but I mean,
well, you're saving
really,
at least 20 grams.
At least. What I found is, and you'll notice on Ferrari's launch cars, they'll end up speccing them where the interiors look a little bit naff.
Yeah.
Like it's got that normal silver plastic, and everyone just goes carbon everything, and then they're like going, yes, sir, carbon everything.
So where do you want the carbon?
Everywhere. Speaking of carbon, we've got it pretty much everywhere. Splitter. External sills here, all the way down the door sill. And again, the exaggerated flare that this thing has. Carbon on the rear diffuser as well. Do you know if this was something that came standard on a TDF or not?
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
No.
This is what I'm saying, they get you everywhere. Every single area.
Do you know how much it costs to spec a carbon bumper on a LaFerrari?
Far away, how much is it?
Around £250,000.
£250,000 for a carbon fibre bumper. Yeah, so, and this is exactly the kind of thing that you're going to end up reversing onto a curb and scratching, because it's a low car, and I've noticed while this does have parking sensors and a rear parking camera, it's low. That's the kind of thing where one of those curbs is just going to creep in, and no doubt that's what. Knowing Ferrari price list, that's probably a 15 grand option, something like that.
At least.
It's obscene, isn't it? So and really cool. The stripe continues all the way over the top. Yeah, just the sculpture on this. Also,
and this one's got the privacy glass as well.
Yeah, which sets it off.
Yeah.
This like whole stealth pack thing is great. Again, going around to sculpture. Side vents.
They're just the coolest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of these, how much of this is actually practical or styling. Ferrari aren't like Lamborghini in that they stick on parts for parts' sake. Normally, this kind of stuff is to reduce air pressure under here. Very cool. Okay, so my thought process now is we're going to have to get in one, try it out. I'm sure I'm going to. The danger in that is it's almost going to be a commitment.
Is it going to be another LT moment?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's going to be like, oh dear Lord, whoever designed this needs a medal. And then for me, I have fortunately though, however, been able to try an 812.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to compare those and think it's probably worth saving, but I'm going to have to wait maybe 2 years. Maybe. Who knows? Awesome. Well, listen, buddy, I really appreciate it. Guys, go onto Instagram, check out Joe Macari Cars. I'll put the link in the description below. These guys not only have some fantastic cars, but some fantastic photography too, because you always got special stuff coming through.
I'm very
and you're always teasing me with TDFs. Every now and again, I end up dropping Dylan a text at like 1 in the morning, going, dude, that TDF, and he's like, I know.
We were literally having that chat on Sunday.
I know. So yeah. Anyway, guys, comments below. Let me know what you think TDF versus 812. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.